Hot off the presses from marijuana moment. Biden administration exploring psychedelics. Task force ahead of expected federal appointment. The Biden administration is exploring psychedelics. Task force ahead of expected federal approval. Federal approval of psilocybin and MDMA, that is. Okay, cool. A top federal agency says it is actively exploring the possibility of creating a task force to investigate the therapeutic of certain psychedelics like psilocybin and MDMA in anticipation of federal approval of the substances for prescription use. See, now I've been watching these dominoes fall, and it just seems like we're headed in that direction, and we're just gonna keep on taking these little tiny steps. Step here, a step there. We create task force, states start decriminalizing and legalizing, and eventually we've got a consensus nationwide on hey, these things are medicinal. These things are therapeutic, they said. Therapeutic. Bipartisan congressional lawmakers, state legislators, and military veterans sent letters to the head of U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the HHS, earlier this year, urging him to consider establishing an interagency task force on the proper use and deployment of psychedelic medicine and therapy. Cool. Which drugs, I wonder, specifically? Because we have here pictured, we've got some mushrooms, we've got psilocybin, we've got peyote, and then ibogaine, or mescaline, and then ibogaine. And right here it says MDMA, so that's a whole host of things. Maybe the picture is just decorative. Okay. Congressional lawmakers noted that even the National Institute on Drug Abuse director Nora Volkow said that the train has left the station, and I agree. She said the train has left the station because the domino effect, one thing leads to another. There's no half measures. One thing leads to another. It's apparent what the people want. I'm just saying, it's apparent what the people want. Given the mental health and substance abuse crisis exacerbated by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we believe it is critical to ensure our nation's healthcare system has all the tools at its disposal to combat these crises effectively. Mental health crises, from staying at home, from being cooped up under quarantine, not having any more parties, not being able to travel or getting stuck somewhere else because of a sudden lockdown. Now you've got all these threats in your mind, and what you need to alleviate your sudden depression and your habitual drug abuse or PTSD from a past trauma, well, you might need some psychedelics. Maybe you don't, but you might need some. Maybe. It is apparent that the psychedelic medicines represent not just a new wave of psychiatry, but a significant shift in the delivery of mental health care, which does not neatly fit within our current system. I couldn't have said it better myself. Beautifully written. Separate letter from the lawmakers included similar points, but from the perspective of legislators who have actively worked to advance psychedelic reform in their respective jurisdictions in recent years. State representatives from Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, and Texas were among those who signed the companion letter. We understand that the Strategic Task Force would lead a public-private partnership with various groups of stakeholders, including relevant state agencies, to address the myriad complex regulatory and public policy issues necessary to ensure a framework for the safe and responsible use of psychedelic therapies. Miriam Delphin Rittman, a top HHS official, sent a response to Representative Madeline Dean, who led the congressional letter in May. She wrote in her letter, you know something? These guys are just talking about this stuff. What's the task force? Biden administration exploring psychedelic task force. What's the task force gonna be called? Where are these guys suited and booted up? That's what I'm trying to hear about. Where are these guys at with the acid sheets? She wrote in her letter, first reported by The Intercept this week, that the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, which falls under HHS, agrees that too many Americans are suffering from mental health and substance use issues, and that we must explore the potential of psychedelic assisted therapies to address this crisis. Sam Hassah also agrees that the use of psychedelic medicines will require a broad spectrum interdisciplinary stakeholder approach to effectively tackle the complexity of issues that stakeholders anticipate will arise with their introduction. So I think, just to me, this speaks volumes, because these are officials from numerous states and in different branches of government on different levels advocating, or in the military as well, advocating for the reformation of the laws surrounding certain psychedelics and other entheogens. And we've got government officials saying the train is left on psychedelics. We're not keeping it out of the hands of the public because people want this for themselves. And now there's science that says that it may be beneficial, so the dominoes are falling. The Taskforce may establish and oversee the functions of a public-private partnership that can broadly focus on addressing numerous complex issues. Collaboration across federal agencies and outside stakeholders. You, as a member of a state where this substance is legal, you need to know what exactly is okay, what is not okay, so you need to know what to look for, basically. And we're getting coordination from way up top, and it's honestly comforting to see. We got a long way to go, but these baby steps right here just put a smile on my face.
Call